Reasons from the Bible. The Gospel of Christ. During his ministry on earth, many a times Jesus mentioned about the Gospels, but there were no Mark, Matthew, Luke, or John written at that point of time. So what was Jesus pointing to when he mentioned gospel? As Mark was written 35, 40 years later, Matthew and Luke 50, 60 years later, and John 60, 70 years later. Gospels in Bible, according to the consensus of modern biblical scholars, are all anonymous writings which were later in 2nd century attributed to these famous names by church fathers, and they aren't eyewitness accounts. So what was Jesus referring to? Gospel was the word from God that Jesus received from God, his commandments and teachings, which was not his biography because his life wasn't over then. It was the guidance for his people. The original gospel is also called Gospel of God, Gospel of Kingdom, and Gospel of Christ in Bible. Commissioning his disciples to preach the gospel, Jesus said, "And as ye go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached." In Galatians, which was written before the canonical Gospels, Paul writes, "I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel, which is really no gospel at all." Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse, we have already said. So now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. The truth is, the glorious gospel of Christ has not been preserved. What we have is 4 anonymous gospels that too are copies of copies of copies with no original manuscripts translated into Greek, as Jesus and his disciples were Aramaic speakers. And if it's not preserved, it only means that it was sent for the people of that time only. The scripture that is preserved today is for the people of this age. Think and reason. As Jesus said, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."